Welcome to the Networking with Michelle podcast, the show dedicated to providing you with life strategies with a little bit of entrepreneur advice. Here we believe in the Jim Rohn quote, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Hey everyone, welcome to the Networking with Michelle show. I am your host, Michelle Gomez, and we are on episode 7 of the Perspective of Black Lives series. Today, I have special guest Mo Shabazz from DivInc. And earlier this year, I had a chance to hear the founder of DivInc, Preston James, speak at an event. And I was blown away by his presentation. And I've had friends and colleagues go through the program. So I will say within the past year, maybe a little longer, I've been hearing the name, seeing the name. They're based in Austin. And come to find out, DivInc is an incubator or accelerator, specifically helping Black, brown minorities in the tech space when it comes to, getting their business together. And obviously we hear about a lot of these opportunities in Silicon Valley, in the Bay Area. So it's good to have something like that, at least for me, close to home in Austin, Texas. And they definitely have plans on growing. Obviously, with the pandemic, everyone's lives and business plans have changed or slowed down one way or another. But I knew when I was going to put the series together that tech was important. And I believe what this organization is doing is important. So I reached out to them, and you get to hear the conversation I have with Mo, their marketing manager in the organization. I do want to say, please forgive any audio issues, so please be patient with us if you can. But I do think there's some nuggets here. If anything else, please go to their website, divinc.org, and that's divinc.org, and the link is in the show notes. So without further ado, Mo Shabazz. Hey, good people. Welcome back to the Networking with Michelle show. Today's special guest is Mo Shabazz with DivInc. Mo, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I am great. Every day alive is a good one.
So why don't you go ahead and tell the listeners a little bit about yourself as well as the organization?
Okay, sure. Well, first things first. Myself, Mohammed Mo Shabazz. Mohammed is the birth name, but Mo is. I kind of made the Joe of African Americans. It's like an easy thing for somebody to get to. But I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. Marketing background. Had the honor of attending the real HU. Little disrespect to the Hampton folks, but it's all HBCU love. But did a St. Howard marketing major. Was blessed to work in the advertising agency upon graduation in Chicago. But I was doing advertising and definitely wanted to utilize my marketing degree eventually, and so honed in on the tech space and was very much looking for marketing in tech, which is actually hard to do. I mean, you think about most of the positions are more technical, and so to have that opportunity allowed me to work with IBM and coming down here to Austin. And so fast forward to earlier this year, moving on to DivInc, which is definitely working for a nonprofit, was something I was always interested in. But the nonprofit part always scared me off. But they make money, and so finding one that had a good cause was definitely something that was a blessing to me. And more particularly, being able to work with Preston James, who's also a Howard alum, was just a great opportunity. And so, DivInc, standing for diversity and inclusion, definitely focusing on diversity in the startup space. But I mean, it's an initiative that not only in terms of this current climate is important, but to know that they've been doing the work up to this point. To me, is honestly, I feel like it's divine nature. You know what I'm saying? That we were here, we were built to be at this time. And so to be part of something that was already doing the work, this allows me to use my marketing to help a lot of people, because, the Jeff Bezos is around all of us. You know what I'm saying? That he's got money and the capital to do it. And so, just trying to hone on that and, help people out through my own personal networks and also leveraging the resources that DivInc has. So I hope I talked about them enough, but I'm sure we'll get more into it in terms of the interview.
Yeah, and I like how you mentioned the transition, and I guess that's always the number one question, at least among the non-engineer peers that I, hang out with. We are intrigued by tech startup culture because nice salary, looks like a fun place to work, let alone hang out with. But we're like, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a computer programmer or whatever. So what advice would you provide when it comes to non-technical professionals aiming towards to get in the tech field, in the startup culture?
To me, the same rules apply to anything. It's more about who you know than what you know a lot of times. And timing. And timing, being at the right place at the right time. Like I said, I knew I wanted to get into tech, but landing a spot into it had to really kind of stay on top of, you if you want to look at it as a hierarchy tree, the Googles and the Amazons, okay, who's hiring in those things? And kind of, really was for me to reach out to those HR persons and be like, okay, when these things are coming down the pipe, whatever notifications there are personally or even through the system, that I can be privy to. So yeah, just being at the right place at the right time. And I'm sorry. Ultimately, I believe non-technical people who get those opportunities, if they're aware of a business unit that is growing, is to position yourself to be a part of that, because marketing in any industry is usually the first thing, that people cut. So I'm just speaking, from a marketing standpoint, but, for those who are still have non-technical things, I believe really going the HR route, if that makes sense, like really being in those pipelines. So they're going to hire, depending on the size of the company, they're going to hire internally first. But if you can be that next person in line where if they're looking outside of that particular circle, it can be a recommendation. I mean, a lot of these companies have, employee referral type of programs. And so, I always look, my thing is I always look for the Trojan horse. I always look for that thing that you can ride in and make that first impression. And then, a lot of times when you stick, you stick. And that was definitely my opportunity in IBM. I was one of two people who were hired, and it was a first time position. And so, it was just to be able to go in there and make it my own. And honestly, when I get in to look for the opportunity for other people to come in after, because it usually takes that one person to kind of be like, yeah, we can come in from a culture outside of IBM and really contribute. So, yeah, that would be my recommendation. Yeah.
I like that. And you have had a solid career. You've also been, to a couple of major cities. What have you seen as far as the gaps with Black people, Black employment, and just marketing as well as the tech space?
Well, yeah, so Chicago and Howard and DC. So, I came from very colored cities. So, coming to Austin was different. And although, Austin is still, one of the more liberal places in Texas, but still the population wise from an African American standpoint is, still, relatively low compared to the Houstons and the Dallases. But just coming from a different place, the culture thing was an adjustment for me. Just meeting African Americans who are more or less transients. And so I guess you think about places like Atlanta that has a lot of success amongst African Americans, but there are a lot of people who, weren't particularly born even in Georgia. And so I see Austin having that same effect in terms of it being, the Silicon Hills versus Silicon Valley. I mean, the same industries are hiring, but people are given the opportunity to live here versus Texas, no state tax. And so I really feel like it attracts a certain type of people who I wouldn't maybe interact with if I went to Houston or Dallas. So yeah, it's an advantage from that standpoint. And then it being a very big startup community, I think this infuses, in addition to the Apples and the Googles who are here, you have the smaller companies that, might have people who used to work at Facebook. A lot of startup founders I've met, they were working at Facebook, and it's like, okay, this is my side thing because I want to leave that, have that opportunity to do my independent thing. And so, I think Austin has been that fertile ground, although it hasn't been as colored as other places. The diversity and the mind state from an innovation standpoint kind of still makes it an equal playing field.
I like that perspective. So let's go ahead and, I guess with that being said, that shows the need for DivInc. So kind of elaborate on what the organization does and the program entails and who you look for as well.
Yeah, sure. Well, the concept of an accelerator, I like to use the word incubator for myself. It's like really giving these companies the resources from an educational standpoint to improve their products. So once they get in front of those investors, that they are tight. You want to give them no reason to deny you. And then from a representing under or our accelerator focusing on underrepresented founders, it aligns with what is really going on now. It's been around for 6 years. The alignment with what's going on right now is, when I speak of going on right now, I'm talking the kind of the racial environment of how people of color are treated versus their white counterparts. And so what we're trying to do is as those barriers are coming down, it strengthens the abilities of our founders to say, you have no right to deny us now. And so it's even more important, like I said, because the funding is coming in more, and so what we want to make sure is that it's just not a company writing a check, that they're actually invested in the solutions that these founders are bringing about. And so it's building the net, but not making it something where investors can just drop money in the bucket and just step away and feel like it's a stock. And so I love that it's building a true infrastructure. We talk about breaking down systemic injustices and racism is just about us bringing or creating our own systems. And so I believe that us being DivInc, allowing startups to have that fertile ground to grow, just really can be a model. It should be a model in terms of a new economy and a new way to grow business and small business. Because entrepreneurship, small business, startups, they all go hand in hand. It's just different levels on how much tech is involved in it.
I also think when we hear the word incubator or startup culture, we always think tech. But if you are just a new business or a service-based business, do you think, DivInc is something that type of business can benefit from? Because I feel like there needs to be a lot of help in that area, and we tend to separate the two types of businesses.
Yeah. Well, when I think of tech, and just you make a great point, when people think of that, it's easy to get fearful. Like, I'm not a technical person, but the tech aspect of it, I think, is actually a reflection of where we are in life. And no matter what your service is, it should have a platform that's based on tech, whether it's a website, whether it's an app. I mean, we're in a social distancing environment. So if you didn't have something that people were able to contact you or do business with you virtually, then you're not really a business. So, the idea of businesses being storefront versus having to have virtual or online presence, it makes you tech. So I think that's where it is, where DivInc puts the layer on top of it just being a tech solution or a solution that has a tech aspect, is that we want to make sure those solutions are something that's beneficial to society, honestly. So, even if you have an idea, like, this is what the end goal, this is the thing I want to accomplish, but I don't know how to get there. I don't know what tech I can use to work smarter, not harder. Being part of the program allows, us to be like, okay, well, based on you trying to get to Z, these are the steps that you might want to take from a tech perspective. If you're going to have one aspect of it, having an app, it might be the most simple app in the world. It don't have to be, Uber running on, the biggest cloud. But you have to have that aspect of it, and I believe that anybody who knows who have an idea of being successful in business today know that they have to have that touch point. So yeah, I think that's the most important thing for people coming in. But to be honest with you, most people who are aware of the program understand that, and they're at a place in their solution where it's more about taking them to the next level from a exposure, resources. I mean, a lot of parts of our program are credits, to a Microsoft startup. So there are a lot of things that we bring together as more or less of a toolkit that hopefully allows our founders to take themselves to the next level and get investors.
What would you kind of answered that. I was going to say, what would make a good candidate? But I guess sometimes with us, and I guess most people, but Black people, we have the imposter syndrome, right? Because once again, when we do think of the tech space, we think of Mark Zuckerberg, right? We're on Facebook all day, every day, and Twitter, and all of these different platforms. And I think sometimes there's a disconnect because it's like they started from somewhere and they built up, whereas we're like, well, I just want to come out the gate and be Mark. So what will make a good candidate in their business to apply, and how can they apply?
Okay, well, our more recent accelerator was actually the application just opened on Friday. So we do 2 accelerators a year. We're at the tail end of the one that we started this year doing our demo day next Thursday, the 25th. And the accelerators, which is pretty much for the fall, has a focus on social justice innovation. And so similar to past accelerators, where we really want to bring those solutions that have a voting, criminal justice, policing. I mean, all the hot topics right now. We want things that are looking to address those. So the requirements are really based on that. Like if you have that, and then we can, the other parts of the application will pretty much identify where you are in your process and your the fit based on that. And then I'm sorry, I think I felt like that was a 2-part. So I was trying to tell you what the qualifications are, but I don't know if the second part. I apologize to you.
No, I mean, you pretty much answered it since the applications opened this past Friday, the 13th. Is it or the 12th?
Yes, and it's /apply. The only thing that's applied there. And so my counterpart Brooks, who definitely runs the cohorts, that definitely helps out in terms of filtering on those applications. And this is going to be my first experience. I'm actually getting in at a good time. So in addition to marketing, I can really hopefully work with those application processes, because I think more and more sponsors come on and we're able to do more of this and have different cohorts. This should definitely I feel like this actually is going to turn into a new form of higher education. I mean, you think about Mark Zuckerberg and all the people, they didn't go to college per se. They might have had some basis, but at the end of the day, they had an idea that they ended up getting capital for, and the rest is history. And so if we really focus on those people who have the ideas and help them get capital, improve themselves through those who have the capital, that's kind of, we feel like is the missing link between our, the communities of color and the Mark Zuckerbergs and the Bill Gates of the world. And so it's just as much about alignment as it is about the resources that make sense, to get the eyeballs. And the eyeballs are here now. So, as much as we can be a spotlight, no matter where those companies are in their maturation, if the idea is there, it takes one person to say like, oh, I love the idea. And I know it's going to take this much to flush it out, but that's pocket change to me, So, if we get those people who already have the eyeballs on this and get them with the right solution where it makes sense for them from a business standpoint, I think it's a match. It's a match made in heaven, and it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, that is a great point. I do think this is the new form of education. Online courses, incubators such as this, if you do have a good idea, and regardless of age as well. Because I know they graduated from PV now, but I met them. Oh my God, I could see them in my head, but I forgot their names. But I know one of the young ladies, Isis, her and her team from PV, like phenomenal. So I do definitely want to encourage anyone and everyone, like age doesn't matter as well. Like if you have an idea, put it out there and find the organizations such as DivInc and the resources that can help you expand on that idea.
Yeah, for sure. So they're definitely out there. The time is now. The time is definitely now.
Do you have any success stories or just some highlights that you can share with us?
Well, I know in the more recent cohort that's going on right now, there's a brother who's based in, I believe it's right up the street in Fort Hood, but Marine, and he has a solution called At Ease, which helps military folks move. So, those who are enlisted, but, still are kind of civilian life, but have to make a move. It's like an easy way to do that. And so, his exposure just in terms of, from a military standpoint, being in Texas, got the ears of Mark Cuban up in Dallas. who actually did a similar, maybe like a little panel roundtable about how to support. It was really about startups in general, but he definitely caught out this brother and his solution and made the connection to the logistics. That was a big plus for him, just in terms of eyeballs. I mean, a lot of and even past cohort people who've had to pivot their solutions. There's a brother named Arian who has a solution called Vessel, which is very lifestyle driven. But with people being social distancing, people are not out here, really living that life like that. So he had to make a pivot. But I know he spoke with Preston, gave him some insights, and introduced him to someone who ended up being basically a next level investor, based on the idea of pivoting. And so I think as an example of, it's not just about when you're going through the cohort as you become alumni. At least right now, and Preston does a great job of it, is always thinking of, other founders or people who can be a resource to founders, current and past. And so when he comes across someone, he's automatically thinking of someone who has a solution that might be interesting him. And so, the more I can be in that position to work with founders and automatically know you need to talk with this person. Because that's what I'm saying. It's about who you know. It's really about who you know. And so if I can do more of that and throw these alley-oops, I mean, to me, that's my investment. I might not have $1,000 to invest in your company to get you to that next level, but I surely can get you to those people who are going to guide you to that next level. And so I think that's what DivInc is about. I know that's what DivInc is about. I mean, it's so cool that the name of the company is Diversity and Inclusion. I didn't even know when I joined that first. How DivInc Incorporated? Like, no, it's Diversity and Inclusion. And so, the name is in itself, and I think that it can't help but attract people who have that mind state. So the rest, honestly, I know it ain't Sunday. The rest is God. How can you be against that?
Yeah, that's what's up. So once again, can you just share with everyone how they can find the organization on the website, social media, all that good stuff?
Yeah, sure. So the website is divinc.org, O-R-G, and all the backslashes after that. The most important one is the backslash apply for the newest program. But we have a blog there that spotlights a lot of our founders, present and past. And really, it's just about the community that we're building, not only here in Austin, but like I said, we're expanding to other cities, hopefully Houston sooner than later, with some partnerships. Social media wise, I mean, LinkedIn, so DivInc together, pretty much on the Facebook and LinkedIn. Instagram is the one that's a little bit different. Is this DivInc ATX, with DivInc ATX. I keep it pretty active and connected to other organizations that we're associated with. And like I said, really try to create that share economy. Sharing. You can have shares in a company by sharing their information, and I definitely feel like that's the way we go about it. It's very grassroots, and you see that grassroots is really the stepping stones of change. It's happening on all political levels, and not only through our site and through the programs, but just through the idea of expanding the reach of the type of businesses that we have and the people who represent those. I think is really just part of the bridge to our new future.
Yeah, I love it. Mo, once again, thanks for having this conversation with us. We're definitely going to have those links in the show notes. And I look forward to following DivInc's success because they're doing phenomenal work in the community. So once again, thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Michelle. And I'll see you in Houston soon. I'll be sweating. I promise you. There's no way around it. It's just too hot down there, but we'll be good.
All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Mo from DivInc. The tech space, we all know that it is a quadrillion-dollar industry, and we are drastically underrepresented in this tech space when it comes to all minority groups, right? All Blacks, people of color, and everything. So I think that education is important. Well, the information is important. So I just want to get that information to you. So please, if you are in tech or you know someone in tech, reach out to them, tell them about DivInc. Let them explore their opportunities. I want to see all of us win. Remember, I believe in you. Personal connection leads to an influential network. Thanks for networking with Michelle.